Hi, everyone. This is Jose Velasquez with HireMilitary, and I am so excited to bring you an awesome event today, a great conversation with two great Americans. And I want to start with reminding you that this segment is sponsored by American Corporate Partners, who we'll be talking about today. ACP's free mentoring program connects veterans, active duty service members, and military families with corporate and professionals for customized mentorships. As they like to say, find your next career with ACP. So first, let me introduce you to the two gentlemen that are next to me right now. Zack, I'm going to mess up Zack's name, Zack Pettinger, External Financial Reporting Senior Consultant with Wells Fargo. Hi, Zack.
Hi, Jose.
And also Simon Schnelle, who's, I think, a CPA, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's your current role, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you work for a company called Armamino. Hi, Simon.
Good morning.
So let's talk a little bit more about this process, recognizing that there are quite a few people that have an interest in mentoring and mentorship through the process as they begin the transition from service member to civilian. I'd love your thoughts, Simon, on, what you were doing in the military, your decision to leave the service, and then inevitably your decision to choose ACP, why you did it, and, what benefit, of course, it's brought you.
Right. So a brief summary on that. Yes, I was in the Marine Corps for 6.5 years as an infantry mortarman. Eventually I was discharged back in, November of 2018 after 6.5 years of service. And I was wanting to complete my education at California State University, Northridge, while I wanted to study accounting and eventually become a CPA. So I had a good experience at CSUN. Unfortunately, in spite of the fact that I tried really hard to recruit, I was unable to land an offer before graduating. So, and towards the end of my time at CSUN, when that fact became evident, I had another friend who did the ACP mentorship and had a good experience, recommend the program to me and help me get connected. So from then on, I spent the whole year of 2020 working with Zack to sharpen my professional skills, help segue my military and other experience into my desired career, and also work on the CPA as well, which was the best thing to do while unemployed. So I actually successfully passed all 4 exams. I'm not a CPA yet just because I haven't quite satisfied the work experience, but that will change in 1 year time. And so far, at the end of the mentorship, I landed multiple offers. One of which was a top 20 nationally ranked accounting firm named Armamino LLP, where currently I work there as a tax associate.
Wow, that is inspiring. That's so amazing. Congratulations. Obviously the program worked, the mentorship opportunity with Zack worked, and hopefully you've developed a wonderful, affinity toward each other. And obviously it sounds like you gain both from each other. My experience is as a former protege myself is that at least from what my mentor told me, she got as much from the experience as I did. I don't know how Zack feels about it, but I'd love to hear from him. And similarly, what prompted an incredibly busy executive to take on this role of mentoring a service member. Zack?
Sure. Yeah, well, I've always been really passionate about helping veterans out. Both my grandfathers were in the military, and I kind of have always wanted to try and find my way to get involved. So originally I'd done Habitat for Humanity and a few charity events before I heard about what ACP was offering. And, the idea to transition a veteran to the civilian workforce just really clicked with me and made a lot of sense. With my specialty in business, I can help, update resumes and do interviews and talk through that kind of background. Making that transition is really difficult. So I have gained an enormous value out of being part of the program, and I've worked with great proteges, including Simon, over the last couple of years, and really find value in looking forward to the calls every single month and what we can work on. And my proteges have been all super hardworking, super successful and great to work with. So they're making my job really easy. So I've definitely appreciated that, and glad we've had so much success with Simon.
Yeah. So, and by the way, to those of you who are in the comments section, thank you for your comments. I invite you to continue to ask questions. The gentlemen are here with us for a little while. So if you have particular questions about their experience, please write your question in there. We also have experts from ACP to talk about any programmatic. So if you have a question about that, they'll gladly answer that for you as well. So Simon, one of the things that I heard that was interesting with you is there was a component, both an educational component, a testing component, and then also a networking and professional relationship component with the mentorship. Tell us a little bit more and how that dynamic worked.
Right. So the educational component, I know I briefly touched on that, was the CPA exams. Because the ultimate goal of many in accounting, particularly public accounting, is to earn a CPA license. And that is also necessary for your long-term career if you want to stay in public accounting. So CPA exams are some of the hardest professional exams in America. It's actually 4 of them. It's not just one exam. So Zach was so kind as to mentor me in strategies on how to best tackle the exam, all the while networking and try to get my foot in the door, try to break out my unemployment rut. And I do think that helped land my current offer. I know it's like, thing about accounting is graduating unemployment is not good. And obviously the COVID-19 pandemic certainly compounded the issue. But I do hope that, accomplishing that challenge, number one, made the best use of an unideal situation. And number two, helped me eventually land the offer that I ultimately deserved.
Yeah. And so from your experience, what degree did that mentoring help when this was a very unique circumstance? Obviously, none of us are prepared or were prepared for COVID and the impact it had on the job market. But from your perspective, seeing Zach, who's in the world of business and actually experiencing it at the, where the rubber meets the road on the bottom line, what did you gain from that experience as he was going through it himself?
Can you repeat your question one more time?
Of course, yeah. So obviously, you saw Zach in your conversations with him. I mean, he's a business person. He's out there, in the business of working for Wells Fargo, and I recognize that he likely had his tough days, like the rest of us did. And so, in your conversations with him, did it come up? Did the dynamic of COVID come up? And if so, what was the advice that he was sharing with you?
He kind of affirmed what I previously said about making the most of an ideal situation. Zach is a CPA as well. He started off his career at KPMG, which is one of the top 4 accounting firms in the world. And during his time, he was able to knock out 3 exams before starting and then complete his last one while working. And yeah, he himself described that, it was brutal, especially when working. And it was still like, it's like my friends, they'll go out to bars, and it's like, oh, I got to study. So, or of course, obviously in the situation we're in now, it's like, everything's closed. So I've just kind of made the most use of that.
Yeah.
And it was also interesting seeing how his business, how he was handling his own endeavors in the COVID world, adapting to a work from home environment, along with some personal matters as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the terrific parts of this is I know that at some point while obviously the intent is for a professional relationship, it's hard not to develop some sense of affinity and appreciation for each other on a personal level. So Zach, I know this must have been a tough year for you as well and continues to be so. What advice were you giving Simon throughout this process? I know that, it can be very difficult in an environment like this to kind of keep your head up when things are getting pretty tough out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I liked what Simon said of making the most productive use of your time. So he was already one step ahead, that he had this plan. And so we just focused on the next step, right? I mean, if you staring down the 4 tests, finding a job, what's going to happen with all this COVID and thing is pretty overwhelming. So we just focused on the next call. What do we need to take that next step? When's the next exam? When can we study? What are we going to focus on? Those small steps to break down the bigger issue, I think really helped with his success. And looking back, from where we started from a year ago to now, it's incredible.
Yeah, and obviously, Simon is I mean, just doing such incredible work and taking on every challenge. Simon, I commend you because obviously, you looked this very, very difficult situation in the eye and said, you're not going to beat me. And I have such respect for you for doing so. So at this point, you've developed this relationship and you've begun this networking process, not just with your mentor, but in addition, I assume that you've probably gained additional mentors and an additional network outside of this. What are your recommendations for those who are watching about the importance of networking and about building, really powerful mentors throughout this process?
I think it's important to have someone guide and mentor you, especially because in the business world, we face situations that are a bit sticky and it's like we can't always rely on our common sense to get through. I mean, I'm already seeing in the comments, like someone's asking about the difference between a mentorship and an internship. And it's like the whole point of this mentorship is not to help gain experience. It's about taking the experience you've had and segueing it and how to make the most use of it. That's much of the point of what we do here at ACP.
Yeah, that's terrific. And so with your field, did you spend any time using professional digital networking sites like LinkedIn and other sites and finding people that had similar interests? And if not online, then, in personal groups?
Yes, I am become very active on LinkedIn, and I have posted many of my recent successes on LinkedIn to much praise. And it was through LinkedIn that I was able to land my current position through a recruiter who also liked to post from another recruiter, and I was able to land that position there.
That's terrific. So Zack, this next one is for you. So can you expand on some of the constructive criticism and help you can offer, given your background? Specifically, how do you personally prepare a resume or ad hoc mock questions? Questions are great. Any tips or tricks would be appreciated.
Sure. Yeah. So I think part of the transition, right, is going for that first civilian job. You really need to translate the really specific, almost like military speak of things on a resume and turn them into like the broader sort of business hot topic terms so that it sort of translates. Since I'm not a veteran, I think I'm in a pretty unique position where I can learn from what Simon would show me on his resume, and then we could make those, tactful improvements so that it will translate to someone in the business world that doesn't maybe know the specifics of what the day-to-day military would be like. And so I found that to be super helpful. And as far as questions, really focusing on the soft skills and leadership opportunities that you would get every day that you maybe didn't consider as part of your day job, and translating that and really making those stand out when you do meet with a recruiter or hiring manager.
Yeah, that's really good, and it gave me some pause because I don't know that we fully appreciate as service members the breadth and depth of our soft skills and the experience that we bring to the table that may not be specific to that job in hand and in front of us, but may make us, more marketable and more interesting and appetizing to, an employer who may be looking for someone as they're looking at likes, across the board. So Simon, obviously your field is, obviously heavily about numbers and financials. And I'm probably going to date myself, spreadsheets and, that kind of thing. But inevitably, all business, they say, is people business. And so, what advice would you have for other people who are going through this transition, who may be focused on more of a hard science or a hard skill environment, and yet, here we are saying soft skills matter as well?
I mean, there's a couple of advice. No matter what field you're in, no matter how soft skilled or technical skilled it is, just number one, show that you're committed more than anything else. I mean, I think I demonstrated that by putting myself through the CPA. Most firms will sponsor you once they hire me. I put it through myself and just use my own resources to finance that endeavor. So that's always good. And always do whatever you can to go the extra mile. If it's a hard skill, like, hey, whenever you have free time, do as much as you can to research and keep up on latest developments in your industry. Another tool that I use is LinkedIn Learning. That's something I use both through my CSUN and through Armamino. So that I have free access to enhance skills, both technical and soft. Like, just never rest on your laurels and always keep pushing and always keep striving to develop yourself.
That's really good advice. That's really good advice. So as you were looking at your resume, were there particular areas that when you first shared your resume with Zack, he came back and said, "What is that?" I know I did. I had some spots where my mentor had absolutely no idea. She had no background with the government or the military, and she just could not comprehend what an NCOIC was and why it mattered to her. Things of that form. Did you have similar experiences? And then in the discussion, how were you able to change that?
I didn't really have that experience that much. I do try to draft my resume and application materials in a way that's most layman's terms. I do recommend when you come out of the military, don't use too much military jargon and things that may be difficult for people without military backgrounds to understand. So yeah, overall, I think my resume is already pretty up to stuff. Every now and then I'll get a person who's like, "Oh, what's a mortar system? What's a mortar?" But nothing too crazy beyond that. I suppose the only feedback we really worked on was more my cover letter about how my initial cover letter was kind of more of a summary of my resume. But then it's like Zack tried to mention, it's like, hey, maybe it's best to maybe talk about an experience that it's worth marketing that didn't quite make the resume. That's usually one of the good things to use here.
Yeah, that's a great conversation piece. Zack, what are your thoughts about cover letters? Because some people say they've gone the way of the dodo bird. Some people say that they're important. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I can say I personally don't love cover letters, but I can see how they can be an important part of supplementing the process because, like Simon said, it really is something to sell yourself and give that personal touch versus just, the check the box exercise of, do you have this education? Do you have this experience? The stuff you just kind of click through on a resume. So the cover letter does give you a chance to sort of sell yourself on, why does this role make sense for me and why do I make sense for this role?
Yeah, no, that's terrific, and I think that that's important. Now, what are if you had to measure by percentage, and I know this is one of those slippery slopes, I guess, because there's no real specific answer, but if you had to measure from your personal experience, Zack, what percentage of jobs are picked up solely by resume versus someone walking in the door saying, "I think I got a guy," or "I know a guy"? Which one is better? Is there a combination of those two things?
Yeah, so I definitely don't work in HR, so I wouldn't know that overall percentage, but I can say in my experience of having 3 or 4 different jobs over the last 10 years, I feel like it has been about 50-50. Word of mouth is obviously super valuable. So if you hear of a job through your network, which nowadays is much more LinkedIn based than even in real life. For instance, my last role through Wells Fargo was through a LinkedIn posting as well. But it's good to have both the online network and the personal network, because that's just much to have someone vouch for you is invaluable as part of the job search process.
Yeah, I would imagine, Simon, you probably have a similar experience or similar opinion of the importance of someone vouching for you.
I mean, I'm not in HR and I don't have as much experience as someone like Zack, but I would say it could go either way. Like sometimes having someone on the inside who could vouch for you can definitely help. I mean, I think there was more than one person on Armamino who I think kind of helped me out a little bit. But in the end, you just got to apply and then just try to, make the best application you can make. And when you get interview the best of your ability. And that could very much work too. And yeah, having your network in LinkedIn can be very helpful. After I announced my CPA exam passing, I did have people reach out to me more and say, hey, maybe I have this role. Are you interested?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so, Simon, as you look back on the year that you spent with Zack, do you find that it was of value? I'm putting you on the spot, I guess, since Zack is there. But let's not tell him, right? But do you find that it was of value? And then, secondly, surely would you recommend this to someone else, as part of their growth and their transition process?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I do think having Zack was especially nice because there are some business skills that you need to learn that they don't always teach you when you're young, like negotiating a position, like if you land that offer, like how to get the best package for you, how to do that appropriately. And I actually am currently recommending it to other veterans. I have another service member who's recently gotten out after 16 years of service, did logistics, and say, hey, this might be a great program to get you paired up with someone who can help you segue those skills into your desired field.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, Zack, you've been a mentor to a number of transitioning service members, and I assume that the issue of benefits and compensation is one that is likely very odd and different to any of us service members. None of us had to figure that stuff out. Our employment was subject to public record, and our salaries were as well. So the idea of having to negotiate any of that stuff. Any thoughts or tips that you would have for service members who are watching, based specifically on benefits and salary and compensation packages?
Yeah, I think having confidence in what you're bringing to the table, and having the background of maybe similar roles that you can research online beforehand can be helpful to sort of have in your back pocket. And don't be afraid to ask for the little things that will help. I know even in this COVID world, right, the benefits world is changing pretty dramatically. So there's a little bit more flexibility for things maybe these days that aren't, what you grew up thinking, working in an office would be like. So it doesn't hurt to be honest and open. You certainly don't want to get to the very last stage of an interview process and then they come back with something that doesn't make sense for you at all. So
Yeah.
it's better to have the tough conversation, once you get your foot in the door, and be honest about it.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. I think that too many times I think we tend to just accept the very first thing that comes, or not do the homework and then ask for an amount that's just simply outside of the stratosphere, something that doesn't make sense for the job description and the location where we're trying to get that job. Obviously based off our experience level as well, and an education. So that's important. That's important. Well, listen, gentlemen, I know you're both busy, and we've reached the 30-minute mark, and I want to make sure that we respect your time, both of you. But Zack, if I can have a few final words from you as a longtime mentor to our service members, any last thoughts that you would leave them with? And, obviously I hope that you'll recommend the ACP program as well, but just any last thoughts as they transition.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first off, thanks everyone for their service. I find it very rewarding to even help in my own little way. So I absolutely 100% recommend the ACP service, and finding a great mentor that will hopefully help, make that change in your life that you're already making for yourself. I can speak for myself, but most mentors I think would be looking to help you make the next step. So don't be afraid to try it out, and you can work on that plan. And I actually looked it up earlier today. I think I've done 5 mentorships now, but I'm not going to question doing the 6th. I'm already searching. So it's a really valuable program that I 100% recommend to everyone.
That's absolutely amazing. Simon, I know that, first of all, I wish you great success as you complete your transition. You finish those hours up so you can get the CPA. Obviously, you're going to do it. And you are, you're someone that, even from spending half an hour with you, I absolutely recognize that absolutely nothing is going to stop you from attaining your goals. So congratulations, and thank you for your service. And as we leave, any words of wisdom that you may have for our viewers in transition?
I would say know what are the good habits and know what are the bad habits you could bring with you from military to civilian. And also just keep trying. I mean, there are times where you're going to fail. There are times you're going to stumble, but it's all about just keep getting back up. That's what got me to this point.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. Gentlemen, I very much appreciate this opportunity. And, we do this every Tuesday as a public service in an effort to get the word out about ACP. And we recognize that they provide these free mentoring programs and encourage you to go to ACP on the internet and take a look at the great things they do, and allow them an opportunity to connect you with a wonderful mentor like Zack. There are hundreds, if not thousands of them, and they are at every level, which is what I love about ACP. Sometimes it makes sense for you to talk to the CEO and be matched up with a CEO. Many times it can be a shop foreman who is the right person that you want to be matched with when you have a particular technical skill. So they do all of that for you, and I encourage you to go to ACP and take a look at them. and consider them as you transition. But gentlemen, thanks again for your time. And we will be back here next Tuesday at 2 o'clock to bring you 2 more outstanding individuals, mentor and protege, who are making a difference in our transition.